What is up, everybody? We are back. NFL draft was a week ago. Can't believe it. I am back here. I am your host, Niko Chambers, here with P. Dunn. We're going to take you through everything about the NFL draft, the good, the bad, the ugly. P. Dunn, what you got for me?
I don't know, man. I'm stoked. This is a fun episode. We put all that work in for the vast majority of this year, and now we get to talk about everything that happened. So I'm pretty excited to dive into this with you, man.
I'm very excited. Today we're going to revisit the mocks, what we had coming in to the draft, and see how really we did. We're going to show some of our day one grades, what we really like, what we didn't. And then we're going to go into some day two and day three diamonds. Um, Add that with the storylines of the draft, and then the final team grades for the top and bottom teams of this draft. I'm super stoked. Man, so let's get straight into this. So we're gonna look right away.
I think you did a whole lot better than I did. I didn't do too great this year. Last year, I did a lot better than I did this year, and I'm pretty not frustrated, but because really what I wanted to do was get a feel of the players.
Yeah, of course.
It's always fun to see where the teams and guess where they go, but that's more hearsay than it is anything else. But my boy over here, he did a pretty freaking good job.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good year. I will say that. We'll start with the first one I did. Um, we kind of got the top four. That was really it.
Yeah.
Can't hate on that. Um, the GM draft was pretty good. We got six to the correct team, seven to the correct placement. Really can't complain there. That included it was a two-round mock. We did the wacky draft, which hit on five to the team, hit on five to the placement. And then how do we do here with our joint mock draft?
I mean, it looks like we did pretty good.
I think the big thing is I think we did really good at kind of really the range. I'm
Yeah,
really impressed at the range. Pretty much all the players in here, besides the slides, the Will Johnsons,
yeah,
the Nicky Manwaris,
yeah. Mike Green.
those type of slides. Yeah, all those slides. But everything else, like we really hit on it. That'll lead us up to my final, which I ended up getting nine in the first round. Nine in the first round. If you're including the Will Johnson second round pick and the Shedeur fifth here. Um, but I definitely do not hate it at all. We are going to now switch gears here. We're gonna look at PDunn. PDunn, how did you do here? Let's see.
Well, like you said, started off 4 for 4. Those
Yeah,
seems pretty consensus as we went into the draft.
it's never usually been in previous drafts.
No, it hasn't. And it was nice to, be able to work with that. So that was good. Got Kelvin Banks at 9, nailed that one, which was pretty cool to see that happen. 14 with Tyler Warren was felt like a no-brainer. And then, that's where things start to taper off a little bit. I got Dart right. I had the Giants trading back up into the first round to grab Dart over Shedeur. So I did indeed get that one right. And then I also had Shedeur at 32. I don't think anybody saw him dropping as far as he did. But it was nice to get that team right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't my best year, but yeah, again, like I feel really good about the player valuations. And it was fun. It was good to sneak Dart in there too. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean we hit on that. I also had Shedeur there to the Browns. We'll get into Shedeur a little bit later today.
Mhm.
It's just a crazy sequence of events of what happened with him, and I'm really excited to hear your take on that. Um, right now, though, let's transition here a little bit. Let's talk about some first round grades.
Yep.
I kind of graded the first round a little bit, and P Dunn's gonna chime in and kind of react to what I have here. Um, I feel like this is a really, in terms of a GM draft, this hit everything. This had all the correct picks, as in my GM draft, which were the first seven. I had these first seven, excluding the Mason Graham, Travis Hunter trade, but in the same spots. Um, I had Cam Ward. I gave Cam Ward an A minus. We talked about in the previous episode where Cam Ward would fall in last year's draft. And the only question really, he was the no-brainer pick. The only question is can they develop him?
Yep.
And they couldn't really with Levis. I know they have new coaching, so we'll see
Yep.
what they do there. So that's why he got an A minus. Jacksonville going to get Travis Hunter. That's an A plus to me. I just love what they did. I think Travis Hunter is worth giving up a first rounder next year to change the culture for
Yep.
Jacksonville with that new regime, new coaching, new GM. That takes us into Abdul Carter to the Giants. That's an A plus also. I mean, the number one player in the draft going at 3. Fantastic job.
Yep.
Patriots hit it on the money with Campbell. Cannot complain about that. Drake May will be protected now. I gave Mason Graham a B. I feel like the Browns trading down from that Travis Hunter pick when they kind of did need him. I thought it was interesting, but Mason Graham will be a good plug player. Not really exactly what they needed, but he will definitely
So when you give
do
that
some
a
damage.
B, do you factor in the fact, like, do you factor in the trade to the grade, or are you strictly
Yes,
putting it
a
on?
little bit to the grade, and I have a little bit down here of what I do kind of for these picks. So an A plus is a premier player falling that fits the team need. I feel like that's self-explanatory. I think A, correct player at draft spot. I said A minus was BPA, so best player available at the secondary team need. B plus would be more of a selection that's you're not going to like it now, but it'll really pay off in 3 to 4 years. And then B, I think it just satisfies tertiary need. That's kind of how I ranked the Mason Graham thing. I feel like they had a few more needs,
Yeah.
primarily quarterback and then wide receiver that
Where
they
did
could have
you
gone
have
for.
Mason on your big board?
Mason was number 5 on my big board.
Yeah.
So got him right, correct value.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I mean. I like the pick. It's just trading down also from Travis Hunter,
Yeah.
um, who would have fit that need, really changed the culture. It's a little bit shocking to me, but they do get that first round pick. So I mean, where did you have the Browns? What would you give that Mason Graham pick?
I would give it an A. If I was the general manager of the Browns and you give me the option of having Mason Graham and a first round pick next year or Travis Hunter, I'm taking Mason Graham and a first round pick. So
Interesting.
and if I'm the Jaguars, I'm taking Travis Hunter without my first round pick. So I think this was best for both teams. And the Browns are not in a spot where they can, I think, support what Travis Hunter needs right now and to get the best out of him. Um, to be fair, I don't trust that coaching staff. And I think I do with Jacksonville. I trust the situations he in. I trust the roster. That roster is in a much better spot than the
Oh
second,
yeah,
fifth overall pick than where they were picking this year. So yeah, I think you and me, I think we disagree on that a little bit. I
yeah.
really do. I do like the idea, especially getting more capital. If it doesn't work out with the quarterbacks this year, you get next year, go up, get your guy. I like this move for the Browns a lot.
Fair enough. I feel like, the next two, looking at Jinty and Membu, I feel like that's kind of consensus. I'm pretty high in both of them. I gave them both an A. And then that takes us into kind of a controversial one. Ted McMillan, what did you have on this pick? I gave it an A minus.
I want to give it a higher grade. I gave it a B.
Okay.
I don't have Tet high on my big board. That was what we've talked about that before.
Yep.
I was never a true believer in the route running. Yes, he's a great athlete. Yes, the production's great. Yes, the ball skills are great. And that's why I actually do really like this pick for the Carolina Panthers, is because they're not expecting him to come in and be what Drake London was for the Falcons, which is what a lot of his player projection was to that type of build. He is more of a Mike Evans role in this offense rather than what Drake is for the Falcons. So he's going to be that big player. He's going to be that X for Bryce Young. You want to talk about a confidence booster for a young quarterback? Just throw that thing up to Ted and just let him work. And so I love this pairing. To be frank, if there's any team in the league that I wanted Ted to go to, this is a great spot for
It's a
him.
really good
It's
spot.
a really good spot. And dude, Panthers freaking fooled everybody, man.
Yeah.
Fooled
I mean,
everybody.
it comes out that he's been working out with Bryce Young for months now. So it's no surprise to them. It's a shock to us. I
Yeah.
thought this was just Jalen Walker territory.
Yep. I did.
That's why it's an A minus. Because it was that best player available type of thing at a
Yep.
secondary team need. But yeah, I thought this was Jalen Walker, Mike Green territory. So I was a little shocked to see Tech go here, but I like it. And what I really like is what they did with it in the second round where they took Scorton and Princely in the third.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we'll get into the Panthers
we'll
later.
get into that. The
Yeah,
Panthers very high on them, but
yeah.
let's talk about your Chicago Bears. How did you feel about the Colston Loveland pick?
So I am higher on this pick than you are.
Fair enough.
This when you think of and I guess it does come out of a place of trust because I'm higher on Loveland than you are. I had
Yep.
Loveland 13 on my big board. You had him
Fair
22.
enough.
And I love the idea of him in the scheme. Everybody's like, oh, they have Cole Kmet. He's a top 10 tight end. They play two different roles. Kmet's your inline tight end. Colston's going to play a lot of your slot receiver, kind of a gadget guy. And I knowing Ben Johnson, like he is going to be his chess piece with this offense, and I am so excited. It's one of those things like, yeah, draft night it raised some eyebrows. I think 3 years down the line, we're going to look back and be like, that was a great draft pick. Ben Johnson knew exactly how he was going to use him. He knew
Yeah.
he was going to fit in this offense, and like I think they got their guy, and the sky's the limit for his production, where he can go. It is really, I love the pick.
Fair enough. I liked it. I think it was kind of an eye opener, but like there's not many big holes that this Bears team really needed. At
Mhm.
this point, it's just kind of getting accessories, and that's why I like the tight end move. I just over Tyler Warren, that kind of raised eyebrows to me. But we'll get into
I,
that.
I think that's what like when Tyler Warren would replace Cole Kmet, you can't have them both at the same time. But if you
Yeah.
can have Loveland and Kmet at the same time, Loveland's a more athletic, better receiver than Warren is, even though Warren's a better tight end.
Oh
So
yeah.
what Ben Johnson was looking for, I think this was the right pick for them.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll go down the list here, skip a few. My A+ picks of the draft continue here back to back. Tyler Warren and Jalen Walker,
Yep.
two players who I think fell a little bit farther than expected. Not too much though. What grades do you got on them, PDunn?
I had Warren sixth on my big board. I think he walks in the league and is a top five tight end, and that is not an over exaggeration.
Not
He
at all.
absolutely fantastic. Like we were talking about with Loveland, he's a scheme fit. Warren is not a scheme fit. He is a fantastic football player.
He's just amazing.
And he's going to be really, really, really good for whoever's playing quarterback for the Colts. Walker was 11 on my big board. And I actually, at first, I didn't love this pick, but they're not going to have to play him as a strictly linebacker, and they're not going to have to play him as an edge rusher like we were talking about with Loveland as a chess piece, he's going to be that. What they're going to do with him on that defense is going to be amazing. And so I'm
Yeah.
A+ pick. I'm right there with you. He's going to be
Yeah.
so much fun watching him fly around on that defense and just cause havoc.
I mean, when he fell there, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is Falcons territory, and they nailed it on the money here. You start to go down a little bit farther here. My Seahawks, I gave him an A. I think Gray Zabel was the perfect fit for what they needed. I was begging for offensive guard, offensive guard, offensive guard, and we got a guy who plays all five positions on that offensive line. He was my second rated overall interior lineman, but you saw what he did at the Senior Bowl. How do we like that pick?
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Did you see the interview of him after when he was like, they're like, well, what are you going to do now that you got drafted? He was like, I'm gonna probably go crack over some of these bush lights. Go.
That's how you know he's going to have a good career. That's a
Stud, man.
10 plus year career. He's
Yep.
wearing Hutchinson's number out there in Seattle, 76. So that's a big name, and I think he's going to live up to it. I'm really excited for that pick. Some more down here. I like the Egbuka pick a lot. I think it'll pay off really in the next
Yeah.
few 3-4 years. And then Jahdae Barron going to the Broncos. I thought that was a fantastic pick for them to
And how
pair up
good is
with
that defense going to
PS2.
be?
That defense, I'm telling you, mark my words, Denver Broncos are going to win that division and going to shock a lot of people. I don't think the Chiefs win that division this year. I think that reign is starting to slowly close. They still got Mahomes, obviously, but they'll still find a way to do it. But I think that division this year is going to be the Broncos with everything that they did in free agency. I'm so excited to see that.
Yep.
That's going to be great. And then I'll get down in here to the lower grades.
Whoa, Matthew Golden at a C.
Yes, Matthew Golden to see.
Hey,
I
talk to
did
me. Talk to me.
so. So here's my thing with Matthew Golden. I think he is very much like the receivers they already got. I think he's very much like the Jaden Reeds and the Romeo Dobbs and the Christian Watkins is Christian Watkins a little bit bigger if you're more bigger dude. But Golden, I really like the pick. It's just like it kind of scratches my head a lot. And I think he'll still be a fine football player. I just don't know how long in the league he will be able to sustain this with the Packers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally disagree with you. I think
All
he's a
right. So talk to me.
I think Christian Watson can't stay healthy. I think Romeo Dobbs has off the field issues, and I think Jalen
Yeah.
Reed's a slot receiver. And
Yeah.
so Matthew Golden, I think, he is a deep threat. I had him as a Stephon Diggs was my player comp. I think he's going to play on the outside for them. He's going to be great complement to what they have. They have two great tight ends and a great running game, and I think he's going to automatically walk in, be their number one. And it's going to be I like the pick a lot. It was actually
Okay.
the only pick they made that I liked in this whole draft.
Yeah, I was not high on the Green Bay Packers at all in this draft, but I do agree if they did get something right, it would be the Matthew Golden pick, but not as high on him as PDunn is here.
Right.
But this may raise eyebrows to everybody. James Pierce,
Yeah,
I gave it an A minus.
that's shocking.
I gave it an A minus.
And
I
that's
love
including
it.
like giving up the trade assets next year.
I think so. I think James Pierce, he's number 18 overall on my big board. I think I had him higher than you
You did.
here. But I get the value in the first round pick next year.
Yeah.
But go get the guy who is the number one overall pick coming into this draft. Like way too early drafts. He was number one
Yeah.
and maybe didn't live up to that at Tennessee in this season. But if he was drafted last year, like I don't even know where he would go. He would go
Yeah.
very high though. I love the pick. I love pairing this with Jalen Walker. I love it. I love it. I love it. Even with the pick, it's
Yeah.
crazy to me. But yes, we got a minute here. Tell me what you think
I
about this one.
I think this was it was completely jaw dropping. They did it. And it's wild looking at the one pick before the Giants gave up two third rounders, and then the Falcons came and gave up a first. So
Yeah,
that would tank the grade. I think they wanted to take James Pierce at their first pick, and they didn't expect Jalen Walker to fall. And so they
there it
took
is.
Walker, they traded back, they got their guy. If it works, it works. It's not a talent thing for him. Plenty talented. It's all off the field. So we'll see how that goes with the Falcons.
All right. So as we get down the line here towards the end, I think it's hit or miss territory. You see A's, you see low B's and C's. I'm going to start with Malachi Starks as an A. I think that's the perfect pick for the Ravens. That's exactly what they should have done. And he falls to them. And I love that pick so much for them. But then we get lower here and 28, 29, 30. Not as much of a fan of. PDunn. Tell me what you like about these three picks, if you like anything at all.
I am with you on the Harrison pick exactly, and I'm with you on the Commanders pick exactly. Those are exact same grades I would give them. Tyreek is tough because I actually feel the way, like I think we both feel about Emeka Ibuka, like
Yeah.
probably the best pick, but like you just know he's going to be good for them.
Oh, yeah.
Really high floor player, and like he's going to fit in well with them. That's how I feel about Tyreek with this spot. Like
Yeah.
I feel like they needed another defensive tackle. This is a guy that they love, and like go get your boy. Like, yes, should you have probably taken Donovan Ezeraku there? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's really what weighed the grade down for me. I mean, you have four defensive tackles
Yeah,
in the top. I mean, where is he right now? Harmon was 34th for me. So you got
yeah.
them in the top 35-ish picks. And
Mhm.
then you go with what was number 57, and he was my defensive tackle 7. I wasn't as high on him, I know, as you probably were.
I
But
had him. Where did I have him? I had Tyreek at 8, so you were higher on him than I was.
okay, yeah. So
Um,
I just think that they kind of reached. I feel like they could have gotten
I
him
agree.
in maybe the second, and they could have gone at better positions, which were available. Maybe at one of the falling players, they could have went Will Johnson, Eman Worry, or even Mike Green.
Yeah.
You always could need some more edge rushers there. So I wasn't that high on them. What do we? So let's talk about the Commanders for for our Washington fans in the area. What are they getting with Josh Connerly Jr.? I know I've felt mixed opinions about the pick. I'm pretty sure every single Commanders fan I know wanted Will Johnson. So
Yeah.
what do we got here?
I mean, that's what makes it so hard is you need corners so bad.
Yeah,
And you have you have Will Johnson there. But you've got your franchise quarterback. Protect your boy. Like I get it. It's kind of how I feel like the Saints pick with Kelvin Banks. It's like, yeah, I don't love the pick, but I love going O line. Like I love building up the O line. I love this that the Saints did it, and I respect that the Commanders did it. This wouldn't have been the offensive lineman I chose, and I probably would have traded back with that. It's I don't love the player. I don't love the fit. But I get it.
yeah,
Is really all there is to say about it. Protect your boy. You've got a stud. Take care of your guy. Invest in him and invest in protecting him. And I would be like I said, I'm right there with you with a C plus on that.
yeah. I
It's
think that it's not. You see the drop off after Connerly. It's a pretty far one. I don't remember exactly who it is, but there is a maybe
oh
20, 30 spots
100%.
after him.
Yes.
Just the fact that he was taking over Simmons is just a
Yeah.
little head scratching there. I think Simmons, I mean, obviously we talk about without the injury, what is he? Probably offensive tackle one. But it's just, I don't know. And we'll get into it here in the storylines a little bit when we talk about the fallers of Will Johnson. There has to be something behind the scenes with that for him to fall that far,
Yeah.
and not be taken here and by all the corner needy teams. I was shocked by that, but we'll get into that later. But I'm not. I don't know how to feel about it. But you did get Trey Amos in the second,
Yes,
so
which I
you
did
did get
like.
a
I
corner.
liked that pick. Yeah.
You did get a corner. So maybe going the fifth tackle and the sixth, seventh corner is good, but I thought just Johnson was the number two in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I was a little shocked by that. So we'll roll with the punches there with the
Yep.
Commanders. But then, of course, like every draft, the Eagles, A plus again. I mean, how does Howie keep doing this?
He's the goat, man. He's the best. He's the best there is. There was reports that came out that he was trying to trade up to 24 with the Vikings. And even multiple teams after that was trying to go get his guy. He ended up falling into his lap. That's what they've done. That's what we've seen the Chiefs do for a long. The Ravens do it better than they do it just as good as the Eagles do.
Yeah,
Like the Ravens and the Eagles every year
every
just
year.
snag the best player that falls, and that's what they did here. He's fantastic, and he's going to be so good. There's you're concerned about the shoulder. I think that's why you may have seen a little bit of a fall there. I always thought he was going to be a Buccaneer. I thought that was a great spot. They didn't.
All
They
day.
go a different direction. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, we'll never know. That's all internal at this point. But I think that's probably why we saw him slide a little bit. He's going to be a fantastic football player if he can stay healthy. That is such a great pick. And just exact same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs going on to Josh Simmons. If he can stay healthy, he'll be fantastic. They've got him in a spot where he doesn't have to come in and play immediately. I mean, you know how high I was on Simmons. He
You were
was
very high. What did you give this
my
pick?
tackle one. He was A plus. I
Yeah,
mean, if I could give it an A plus plus, I would.
yeah.
He was the number. Where did I have him?
I
He
mean,
was
yeah,
he was the number 9 player on my board, and you got him at 32. Like the talent's undeniable. If they feel, which most teams did, that reports came out that the measurables were, I mean, the medicals were fine, and so like this, I mean, I think again, looking down the line, 3 years from now, we're gonna be like, how in the world did we let the Chiefs get Josh Simmons at 32?
I feel like the Chiefs every year they're picking in this spot, and they're mainly picking some forgettable guys. Worthy was probably the most memorable in a few years,
Mhm.
around this 28 to
Yeah,
32
remember when they picked
range.
Sky Moore in the first
Yeah, they
round?
took Sky Moore. They took what was his name? The edge out of
Purdue.
yeah,
Um,
I don't even remember,
I
but
don't. That
um,
says enough.
yeah, exactly. It says enough. They're very forgettable picks. Worthy was probably the most notable because of his 40 time at the combine. But and he was a good pick this previous year. But I think this is the most memorable pick in years for the Chiefs. Really excited to see what they do with him, how they kind of bring him into the fold and just continue to swarm Patrick Mahomes with all of just blockers. He's got a barricade and he's so slippery. He's not even fast, but he's just so slippery in there.
I'm telling you, the Cam Ward stuff, it's there. It's
Yeah,
telling you it's there. I'm not a huge Cam Ward guy either, and so I don't know, but I'm telling you, it's there. The same way you talk about Mahomes, same thing you talk about Cam Ward. So we'll see what happens.
fair enough. So let's go into day two,
Yes.
diamonds. What did we like here in day two? And I'm just gonna show my big board and we'll kind of see what we liked here.
Yep.
Um, so you start. What were
Yeah.
your favorite round two picks? Let's go. Give me your top three.
Top three, Scorton was number
Oh yeah.
one. BMO, Benjamin Morrison, and then Mike Green. Starting off with Scorton, the guy, he was our guy this year.
He was our guy.
We the train was going. Everybody was jumping off the train. We never jumped off the train.
He was
We
my defensive end one. He was my
yeah,
number 21 overall. I love
yep,
this dude's film. He was
yep,
fantastic.
yep.
And I think the
I,
Panthers is
I had
perfect
him
for
right
him.
behind you at 25.
Yeah,
And
Panthers is such a good spot.
it's perfect. It's so good. And so he's going to go in there. He's going to get to actually rush the quarterback like he did at Purdue before he transferred to that A&M system. He's going to walk in, um, be a great player for them, be fit a part of their scheme. And I am so stoked. And when we get into the team specific stuff, we'll talk about the Panthers. They just
For sure.
freaking killed it, man. They took
Yeah,
another
I
edge
really
rusher
liked it.
you and me both love next
Yep.
round. They did a fantastic job. And going off the same thing, just like we were talking about with the Ravens, they take BPA and they took
Yeah.
Mike Green in the second round. Again, Mike Green was the seventh player on my board or eighth player on my board.
It's
Yes,
amazing. I can't
off
believe they do it every
stuff.
year.
There's off the field stuff. I get it. But brother, if you can just like get him, like, just go play football. I don't care what else you do. Just go play football. He will win them multiple games because of how talented he is. And so I love that pick. Crazy value. And then finishing off with Benjamin Morrison, a guy I had a 15th on my board. Amazing man corner, struggled with a hip injury. Again, seems like the medicals came back okay. There's some athleticism, top speed question marks there, but I mean the player's fantastic. He's going to come in. You don't have to start him away, but you can't keep him off the field. Like,
Yeah.
he's going to be fantastic in that system, and I am so stoked to see what they do with him. Those are my three picks. Talk to me, Nico. What do you got?
I think you got to go Will Johnson falling to the Arizona Cardinals. I think you got to go Nick Emanwari falling to my Seahawks who traded up for him. And then I think Quinshon Judkins is the next guy. I'll start with Quinshon.
Yeah.
Quinshon, I mean, let's look at this. Yeah, he's going to slot in that running back competition. Let's say they don't re-sign Chubb. Um,
Yeah.
him
Which
and
seems like
Sampson really. I like the Sampson pick a lot also.
me too. Great pick.
But it's like for fantasy owners are going to be really hyped for this, especially dynasty fantasy owners who are just looking to get that guy this year, besides
Yeah.
Genty maybe. And I really like the Henderson pick by the Patriots, and then of course Hampton going to the Chargers. But wow, I like this fit more than any of those. I think this is my number two running back fit besides Genty.
Yep.
Um,
I
he's
agree.
going to do great things, and I just think that this is a great pick for them to take him in the second round, like they did. Browns had an all offensive draft. Very interesting what they did, and we're definitely going to get into that
We
in
are.
the division draftables
We
as
are.
we go along. But I'm very high in this Browns draft. So then let's switch gears here to what Seattle did with Nick Emanwari. I couldn't believe the slide for him, especially after his combine, after
Yeah.
how raw and athletic this dude is. This is literally the perfect pick
Uh-huh.
for a Seattle Seahawks team. This is reminiscent of Cam Chancellor, in my opinion. This is a guy that honestly, Emanwari watches a lot of. He says he wanted to model his game after Cam. And I just think it's just going to be a really good fit to see where he goes. He's an athletic freak. I think he's just like Witherspoon. He's going to complement him very well. You
Oh
see
yeah.
Julian Love, Kobe Bryant there. I think honestly, by mid-year, um, he will take Kobe Bryant's spot, and he will be just flying out there. I think you could put him at any of these positions, really, in the safety room, and I think you could even throw him at nickel, and he'd still be an athletic freak.
I mean, you could
Um,
put this guy at linebacker and he'll figure it out.
yeah,
Like he's
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
quite literally the greatest safety, the best athlete that has ever touched a safety
yeah,
position, literally. And and then you're like, okay, that's cool, but he probably didn't have good tape. No, he
his
had
tape is there.
tape. Like it's there. Like yes, he's raw. Like he's not a polished yet, but where else would you rather him go to get more polished than here? Like it's
It's
a
perfect.
perfect
It's a
setting.
perfect spot. I think this is like Jamal Adams 2.0 if they can use him correctly. If like the Jets use him pretty correctly, he can be you could see him rushing, and I think that's what they've done with Witherspoon. They've sent him after the quarterback a little bit, and you see him in coverage, and he's fantastic. I think Nick here is just such a great pick for them. I was so high on this pick,
And
which will take me
what other defense would you rather have? Like what other
done.
defensive mind would you have him using as his chess piece than McDonald? He's gonna be
I
like
don't, I
he knows
don't it's
exactly how to use
perfect.
it. It's perfect.
Yeah, you saw what McDonald did with Hamilton his rookie year when he was with
Mm-hmm.
the Ravens. Very similar thing here. I think he's going to do
Yep.
with Nicky E here. And then finally, Will Johnson for me. Just Will Johnson falling. I couldn't believe it. It was just
Where was he on your board?
he was. I think he was. Let's see here.
I had him at 14 on mine.
I'm pretty sure he was right around there.
Yeah, I
Will
mean,
Johnson.
talent is so good,
He was
man.
11 on mine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I really am really interested to see why so many teams pass them. There must be something underlying with the injury.
there's medicals that are question marks, and I mean, I think most teams didn't think he would break a 4.5 40, and
Yeah,
that's tough to play in the NFL with that. But everything else is so good, you just believe that he's going to make up for it, and I
yeah.
think me do too. And the Cardinals got to a spot where like, why would we not take him here? Like,
He's a plug-in starter as you see here.
yeah,
In their cornerback room, which they needed desperately.
yeah,
Um, and I think he's just going to be a stud.
yeah,
And I'm really excited to see that one. And yeah, so let's transition here to the round three draft
mm,
diamonds. I want you to give me three more from
yeah.
round three.
Okay, well, I hate to steal your Seahawks like this, but
Let's hear
Milrow,
it.
what I mean, when we're talking about the Seahawks and how amazing of a draft, it's hard not to give them an A plus because I truly think they got an all pro level guard. They got a safety that could legit be the best safety in the league, not an over
Yeah.
exaggeration.
Nope.
And they got their quarterback of the future.
Yes.
Like it was fantastic. Milrow is going like again, like we said with Eman War getting in the McDonald's system. Milrow's going to go sit behind
Yeah.
Darnold for at least 2 years. That is exactly what he needed.
It's perfect.
Perfect. And
It's
like
perfect.
it is the absolute best situation for him. He's a guy I had 26 on my big board. And so I'm ecstatic for him. I love the guy. He's gonna sit and he's gonna learn how to throw football a little bit better and learn how
Yeah.
to run an offense. And then he's gonna be dynamite when he gets on the
He's going to
field.
be great. And what I'm hearing is they're going to have packages for him this year. I think that's
You
really
can't
cool. If they
keep
can
him
do
off
it,
the field. You
you
have to
can't.
get
You
him off the
can't.
field.
And you can do something similar to what they did with Fields when Russell Wilson took
Yep.
over for him to keep him just engaged and just keep his head. But what I'm hearing out of Seattle Seahawks camp is that has a great attitude. And he's really good with the press and kind of just he's very intricate. He wants to be a great football player, and I'm so excited to see that, especially as a Seahawks fan.
Yep. And then I've got Xavier Watts going to the Falcons. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
and another guy, I just have no idea why he fell so far. Amazing talent. Yes, there's athletic concerns. He's going to go in and he's going to be the Falcons' best safety, and it's going to be awesome for them. Great supplement to that defense.
oh yeah,
Savon Bell going to the Cowboys in the third round again. He had an ACL tear this year. That's why you saw him fall. I had a first round grade on him. The tape was amazing last year, and he is an unbelievable athletes, like top level athletes. And
all day.
that's, with Trayvon Diggs, don't know what's going to happen. Like there's question marks in that cornerback room. Just gets you got Revel in the third. I love it. Great pick. So
I loved it too.
those are my three guys.
Those are the, and I had two of those guys. I had Revel and Watts also. I just think what Revel can do here. I mean, he fell pretty far here. I think I had him as my corner five, if I'm not mistaken. And you get him in the third round. I mean, that's some value right there. You can see kind of where he lines up here. Do you see him playing outside? Do you see him playing nickel? Like,
I
where does he
think
fall for this team?
I think what happens is as long as Diggs stays on the team, you'll have Diggs and Revel on the outside, and I think Blaine moves back inside, which is where he
Yep.
played before he moved outside a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He's always been a slot corner, and then you just quickly get yourself a really top tier corner room that not many other teams in the league have, and I really like what they've got going on there.
I think the Cowboys had a really underrated draft with their big three,
Yep.
with the Booker pick, the Ezraku, and then Revel here. I also was very high on the Xavier Watts pick as well. Your guy, Billy Bowman, was right
Oh
there
yeah,
with him
dude,
in
what so good.
the Atlanta draft.
Mhm.
They only had, I think, five picks, but they hit, in my opinion, four of those five,
Yeah.
um, which was crazy to me. I think Watts is going to plug and play.
Yep.
Um, him to falling to the third was a little bit of a shock. That's a value pick right there. So
Yeah, and
really excited for that.
he's a perfect complement to Bates too. Like
Yeah.
got I think Watts had 11 interceptions the last two seasons. You get him roaming that back end. You start to get Bates more into that, bring him down into the box a little bit more. Like
Oh yeah.
so good. Great pick. And then Bowman's
And
going to do a
they
lot of stuff Bates does as well. So I don't know how many years Bates has left on his contract, but Bowman's going to be a good replacement for him in the future.
that's a pretty good Justin Simmons replacement right there.
Mhm.
I really like that. And then uh my main pick here, I'm really high on Caleb Johnson for the
Okay.
Steelers
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Um here I think honestly in competition with Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren is a phenomenal back. But I think Caleb Johnson will win that job. And fantasy owners like should rejoice because he's going to run all over it. I think,
Yeah.
especially, we got to figure out what's going on quarterback wise first with the Steelers to before we think that they're legit. But I think all signs are pointing to Aaron Rodgers.
Mhm.
Um,
Maybe it's been like a month, man.
I don't know. I don't know.
Not in
I
your
just
darkness retreat, man. Come to the light, brother.
I don't think you can go in with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. So I feel like
Exactly.
they know something under the table that we don't. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm high on Caleb Johnson. Um,
I love it.
And I love it. I love it. We'll transition here into our day three diamonds and we'll kind of run through them here. So I'll start. I like Ty Robinson
Hmm.
going to the Eagles. Just a fantastic pick. Eagles,
Shocker.
once again, just shocker. I mean, where he slots in, technically defensive tackle coming out. But I don't think he's going to really budge any of Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. So I think you're going to have him at end here. Next to Ojimo. But I just like his just physicality. He reminds me a lot of JJ Watt. And that's a very high praise, but I think they got a really high player here.
Yeah, I love
Um, next up, Alec Ayamanor,
it. Mhm.
out of what was it, Stanford?
Yeah. One of my favorite picks.
Unbelievable. This
One
is
of
honestly my favorite
my,
pick. I was super high on him. I think he was my wide receiver six. He was very high on my board. I think he's my biggest sleeper in this whole thing. You look at the wide receiver room here, you don't know what's going on with Treylon Burks. You like Calvin Ridley, you know what you're going to get with Tyler Lockett.
yeah, I
I don't
mean
know if Van Jeff.
he immediately slots in
Yeah,
at your next.
I don't think Jefferson is higher than Ellick at the beginning of this next season. I don't think so at all. And I don't know what's going on with Treylon Burks after they decline that option. So give me the plug and play guy who will be that outside receiver. That's a pretty good receiver room if you ask me. I'll be a biased Seahawks fan. I'll tell you what you're getting with Lockett. You're getting just a very consistent receiver who's going to give you at least 600 yards. May not be as polished as he was late in his or earlier in his career, but he's still a great guy for them. And I really just think the Tennessee Titans really hit it pretty hard in this draft. I think they had another underrated draft, which takes me into another team that was a little bit more underrated, not as very highly, but I liked Ollie Gordon the second, taken
He,
here by the
yeah.
Miami Dolphins. I I like this dude. I remember he was a Heisman finalist at some point. Um, Obviously, that's not what he is now. And you see the running back rooms they have with A-Chain, Jalen Wright, and Alexander Madison. But I think when it's all said and done, this dude's going to have a really good career, a really solid career. Um, I like the way he plays the running back position, and I think by the end of this year, he will be the running back two behind A-Chain. And obviously,
I
the durability concerns with A-Chain, how
exactly.
healthy he's going to be. So
He
taking this dude in the sixth round, to me, it's a no-brainer.
love it.
Really high in this.
He's a different back too, and he's a very powerful, strong running back, just like Mostert was. And you saw
Yeah.
how they used Mostert in that offense, and then with the pace of play, change of play with A-Chain coming out of there. So he's a perfect. I totally agree with you. He's going to be the second back on this team. He's going to have the second most carries. Um, it's a really great replacement for you, like you said, like you saw what they did with Mostert.
All
And
day.
yeah, I love that. Great call, dude. Great call.
It's round six is crazy to me, and they got some sleeper. I mean, even Quinn Ewers in the seven. I mean, he was the last quarterback taken in this
What a
draft. That
weird
shocked
quarterback
me
room.
too.
Look, what a weird quarterback room.
It's weird. Tua, Zach, and that Quinn Ewers. Don't know where that direction is going. I usually don't understand what Miami does in these drafts, but and how they build their roster construction, but we'll let them do their thing. But let's talk about a team that knew exactly what they were doing with their roster construction, the Patriots this year.
Oh yeah.
What a draft.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
so many sleepers everywhere. I mean, we could go on and on about them. I mean, I think I had 4 or 5 sleep on my all sleeper team. I think I had the Patriots took 4 or 5 of them, like unbelievable. But I want to talk about Braden Swinson out of
Mhm.
LSU. I just really like this pick. And obviously they got a lot. It's a lot of pieces in this new regime, um, bringing in the new head coach, Mike Vrabel. But you know how he is with the defense. And I think he's going to sort all this out perfectly. They obviously have a lot of new additions on this defense. You see all the pieces in orange here. Um, and I don't know how many of them are going to really fit in. But I really like just how they kind of offset it with their draft picks. And they kind of got a lot of good needs. I mean, I feel like a lot of these guys, Harold Landry, how many good years are you going to get out of him? Obviously a question, and he's at the outside linebacker position. Caleb Von Chasen, what are you going to get from him in this free agent deal? Um, Jennings, like we'll see how good he is this year, but I really like the Braden Swinson pick. I think he will live up to the hype that he has, which really doesn't have that much, but in my book, he has a lot of hype.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
think he's going to be a great guy. And then I'll go to my last guy here, Rams. Rams didn't really win this draft, in my opinion. However, I really like this pick that they have. Chris Paul Jr.,
Mhm.
um, Ole Miss.
Yep.
I was very high on him. I think he was my linebacker five, and for him to go in the fifth round, um, that pops off the page for me. This is a very complete defense.
Yeah.
Um, I was a little shocked they didn't go corner. Um, I feel like they need a corner.
Oh, yeah. No corner.
No corner at all,
Yeah.
which was
I
shocking.
yeah.
I was not thinking it would be a front seven pick. I mean, you see it's very well rounded, but linebacker was probably one of their needs. I think Chris Paul Jr. beats out Omar Spates
I did too.
pretty much right away.
Yep.
And he'll go right next to Troy Reader, and they'll have a really good season. I think he'll rack up tackles. I think he will be, let's go top 12 in tackles this year. That'll be a bold one.
Mm,
Chris Paul Jr., top 12 in
all right.
tackles in the league by
Okay.
this year's end. So you tell me what you got for day three.
Yeah.
Give me
All right.
five.
I'll give you five. I got Jaden Blue going to the Cowboys, the Texas running back. He is about as shifty as a wide receiver. Think of the Tank Dell of running backs, and that is exactly what they need with an old Javante Williams, an old Miles Sander, and a really slow and powerful Phil Maffa. He is going to plug in in his own role and a great role in that running back room, and that's what they need. They don't have anybody, or they didn't have anybody that was going to make a difference, and you have a guy that'll make a difference right now.
Love it.
It's crazy to compare him to Achane, but it's the same range in the draft.
Yeah,
It's the same type of player. If they can figure out how to use him in that system, it would not shock me to see him have a really explosive career because that's the type of player he is. So I love that pick. Marcus and Bo going to the Giants. I mean, I think it was the fifth round.
yeah.
Like that made no sense to me. I had him. I had a top 60 grade on him. He was a
Okay.
top 60 player for me. Fantastic. He's going to plug. He's probably going to play at some point this year.
I think so.
Um, he's really, really good. And he's going to be good for them. I have no idea why he fell. Again, when we get into our grades, the Giants had a really, I like the Giants draft a lot this year.
I did
So,
too.
Cam Williams going to the Eagles again. I have no idea how he does it, but I had Cam Williams he was my
Yeah, I
offense.
had him very high too.
I'm at 61 on my board. Absolute athletic freak. If you could build a tackle in a lab, it would be Cam Williams. And again, like we were talking about earlier, like where would you rather him go than the
Yeah,
Eagles?
nowhere. I had him offensive tackle 7, and I had him. I think he was 76 for me. So
Yeah,
this was shocking as well. I just can't
crazy.
believe like these dudes fall and the Eagles just take them, and it's like, whoa! Like I just
It's an
look at every
embarrassment
year.
of riches. And they have
Yeah,
two fantastic tackles, and they just got him to go and sit and learn how to it's so good. So I love that pick. Kyle Monangai going in the seventh round. I had Monangai at I had a fourth round grade on him. So for him to
okay.
go seventh to a running back needy team, it's not going to shock me if he's getting a lot of carries for this Bears team this year. And so it's going to be really cool to see what they do with him in a kind of wide open room.
Yeah,
He's already slotted in at 3. Wouldn't shock me to see how far he moves up that depth chart. And then to round it out, going back to the Giants, going back to running backs, Cam Scatterboo. Again, you want to talk about a perfect 1-2 punch like with Montgomery and Gibbs, Scatterboo, and Tyrone Tracy, like lightning and thunder is going to be so fun watching what they do. Joe Shane really killed this draft.
we were very critical
We
coming
were
in,
we were very critical, and
but I think he saved his job and he
he
continued
did
that
a
legacy.
great job last year, and he did a great job this year. And so I agree with you. I think he saved his job, and I think Cam Scottaboo is going to have a fantastic career in the backfield for New York.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But let's talk about if we're going to talk about obviously the day 3 diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the storyline surrounding Shedeur Sanders. What do we where how do we start? How do we unravel this?
I
You
think
have obviously the prank calls and everything that's is all everything. He slipped in the first, he
mhm.
slipped in the second, and I was like, okay, like I didn't have him that high. I think he's my quarterback 4. I didn't
Yeah.
have him that high, but I had him. He was my quarterback 4, but I had him ranked above Dart and Milrow, and he slides to the 5th. Walk me through what is going on with the Shedeur
It was
Sanders pick.
like you said, like it was really fascinating. So, like, let's talk about Donovan Ezraku. Okay, he
Yep.
was the player that we all had most of us had a first round grade on, and he fell to the second round. Brian Branch, a couple of years, was a first round consensus pick,
Yes.
the second round. Like players fall, right? Um, then so he fell, and especially at a position like the quarterback, not everybody's going to draft the quarterback. So when he dropped to the second round, I was like, okay, that's interesting, like, but that's fine. And so then he dropped out of the second round, and then he dropped out of the third round. And
And I was like, okay.
kind of got when the Browns took Dylan Gabriel, it was at a point where not only was he falling, these teams, I think you were the one that told it to me, like every team's had multiple opportunities to draft him, every single NFL team, and they don't.
Yep.
Like they don't want this guy in their locker room.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on here is like there's something to be said about whatever his pre-draft process was. That there's rumors that he tanked his interviews to teams he didn't want to go to. These GMs talk, that stuff gets out. Like, you got daddy ball going on. Don't tell me that doesn't play a part of it.
It
Like,
definitely does.
it's really, it's just a perfect storm. There's conspiracies. I know you've seen the video. Like, they didn't even look like they wanted to take him when they took him. So
They didn't.
it's really fascinating. You like you said, like, the talent's there. He's a talented quarterback. He's not a first round talent, but he is a talented quarterback. He's sure not a fifth round talent.
No, absolutely
Worth
not.
way more than that. But when you combine the fact that he's good, but he's not that good, and then you have to deal with this laundry list of things that
Yes.
come with the Shedeur Sanders name, I think it was a perfect storm, and that's what you saw. You saw the fall, and it's fascinating. We haven't seen anything like that in a really long time, and I don't know if we will for a very long time. And you know, I don't want to knock on the guy too bad, but I think a lot of this he's done to himself.
I agree.
Unfortunate part about it. We'll see what he does with this opportunity. If you're on an NFL roster on an open quarterback room, like, go make your shot. You're in a great position.
This is the most open quarterback room in the
Yeah,
league.
it is.
And I think he will be a fine quarterback in this league. I think especially where he's at, this is the best spot for him. This is where I had him mocked. This is where you had him mocked. This is probably the best opportunity for him. Um, it was interesting just to see the whole thing unwind. I think about, and then the reports have come out about how he was pissed at the Giants because the Giants called him out. We saw Hard Knocks last year. We saw how Brian Dable worked with Jaden Daniels,
Mhm.
and all the things that he was calling and how receptive Jaden was.
Yep.
I can, because I saw that episode, I can just see the whole thing in my mind of how Shedeur was just not ready for that,
Yeah.
and that could have been really badly. So I totally understand how these interviews goes. Now, if he tanked him or not, that makes no sense to me. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Um, I hope that that was just a dumb report, and I hope that that's not an excuse for this. I hope he just takes it and goes, because that would be a terrible look. But honestly, I think the Browns they got a really good player in the fifth round. Now I don't understand the Dylan Gabriel thing before him, and it's just very head scratching. This
Yeah, it
quarterback
is.
room is one of the most random I've ever seen. I think Kenny Pickett will be the day one starter.
You do. You
And
think over Flacco.
I think Kenny Pickett will be the day one starter. They traded for him, and I think that they're going to roll with that. I don't know how you can't. I don't know if you can continue to trot Flacco out there. I don't know how much Flacco's a very good backup.
You
I
don't
don't know how
have
much
anything other than backups. You've got five
I
backups.
I don't I just I don't even know what to do with this room, to
I
be
don't either,
honest. It's
man. I'm
terrible.
still on you.
It's
Same thing.
terrible. It's terrible, but I think Pickett gives you the best opportunity out of what you got. So yeah, and then let's switch gears here. We're going to talk about kind of just the Blockbuster deal with Travis Hunter a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
How do we feel about that? I don't know the exact details on the trade for Travis Hunter. Um, but they give up a first next year for him. Um, to trade up three spots to go get him. Was this the move of the draft?
It was absolutely the move of the draft. It was the biggest trade. It was the most impactful trade. And I think, like we talked about earlier, I think it's the best for both sides. You love what you're getting with the Jaguars. You're getting a player that may play both sides. You're getting a great locker room player for you got a new staff coming in. This is a guy that sets that tone. And I really do think that they made the right decision. And like I said, for the Browns, I like this move. I think you are the most quarterback needy team in the league.
Yep.
And at this point next year, either you're going to be picking at a spot where you can take your own quarterback, or you're going to need to trade up for one. So now you're going to have two first round picks you can move in order to get up and go get him, and you got a freaking good player in Mason Graham. So I I really like this for both sides, and I like it for Travis. I think it's a better situation for him. Trevor Lawrence, having him and BTJ to throw the ball to is scary. Honestly, that is a fantastic wide receiver duo. Um, You love the guy you're getting, you love the player you're getting. So I think it worked out really well for both sides.
Biggest risers in this draft. Who do you think rose the highest based on whatever pro day, pre-draft process, combine? Who do you think rose the most in this draft? Like, who did you not really have in this first round? You snuck in, or maybe went a lot higher than expected here.
I will say, I think I'd probably go Donovan Jackson as the one I didn't expect to go in the first round.
Yeah.
Uh, I I mean Tyleek obviously, but I think that goes
Yes.
without saying he was probably that's a boring answer. I'll go Donovan Jackson. I didn't think they would go guard, and I definitely didn't think he was going to be a first round pick. I did have him graded higher. I had him 20 in the mid 20s. So I had
Okay.
him in this range. I think he's going to be a very good pro. I just didn't think he was going to go here. So
I didn't think so either,
that was the most unexpected one for me.
for sure. Yeah, it was really interesting to see that. Uh, besides Shedeur, who do you think fell the worst out of these players?
I mean, either Will Johnson or Mike Green, and for varying reasons, you got the off the field stuff, which is it. That's the only reason Mike Green fell. He is a fantastic football player and would have gone way higher without the sexual assault charges. And Will Johnson, you covered that great, so I'm not going to heap on that too bad. Just
Yeah,
a tough situation. I think he's in a great spot, so I wish the best for him in Arizona. I think he's going to succeed.
for sure. Isaiah Bond also
Oh,
undrafted.
yeah.
That
Did
was
he?
crazy to me. I don't know where he signed. I don't know what's going on. There's some surprising undrafted guys in this
So
draft.
he went to the Commanders
Okay.
16
So
hours ago. He just signed.
that's crazy. So
He
there
was
you
on
go.
site for about a week and a half.
I it's such an unpredictable process.
Unbelievable.
And obviously he had a lot of things going on, so that probably contributed to it. There were parts of the draft I thought Shedeur was going to go undrafted. It's unbelievable to see what these teams do. All right, so we'll really shift gears here to the final segment. We're not gonna give you the full thing, um, but we're gonna talk about final team grades. Give me your top three, PDunn.
All right. I have two A pluses. I
Two A
have
pluses.
I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the New England Patriots, and I have the Carolina Panthers at an A. So
Let's
those are
do
my
it.
top three grades. Chiefs starting off. I absolutely love this draft. Starting off, we've already talked about Simmons. I think it was the best pick of the whole draft, all 7 rounds. It was my favorite pick, best value pick at the most important position, the number one they needed the most. So love that pick. Norman Lott was a guy I was higher on than consensus. I think he's going to be an absolute dog next to Chris Jones, and will be ready to take over that role when he is done. Gelati's going to be great. He's their perfect edge, long, lanky, going to fit great on that defense. Noah Williams, I wasn't super high on, but get more corners in there can never hurt anybody. A lot of people like him, so maybe I'm just wrong on him. And then Royals again. It was kind of an Io Manor esque fall. I for
Yeah.
sure thought he'd be a second, maybe early third guy. Chiefs pick him up in the fourth round, just perfect.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know much about Jeffrey Bassa, but Brashard Smith is going to be an awesome back against next to Pacheco, another just change of pace guy. Again, moves like a receiver. He's going to be great out of the backfield, catching all those passes, which is exactly what Pacheco does not do. And it's going to be really good having those two
So
in the
does
back.
he slot in the two for you?
Probably two. I
Let's see
think
what they
so.
got.
I don't know who
Um,
they have outside of him. They didn't bring back Hunt, who was getting all their carries last year.
they did.
Oh, they did bring back
They did.
Hunt.
They did. Okay. So
Then
and they have Elijah Mitchell too.
I think he's probably going to be their third down back towards the end of
Okay.
the season.
Yeah.
Um, and in that sub packages, you can move him in the slot, you can move him out of the backfield. I think he's going to be a really fun player for that offense to move around with. And I could not be higher um, on this draft. I think it's going to be fantastic, and that is my top. Who do you have as your top grade?
My top. Let's do it. Biased Seahawks fan, you could say that, but I think they won this draft. Let's go down the line. I mean, you said it best earlier on. I think you got the all-pro guard that you've been looking for years, and you desperately needed,
Yep.
like just terribly. You see this offensive line, and it scratches heads. I mean, you got the tackle pieces. You got Cross. You got Abe Lucas.
Mhm.
Um, Abe Lucas, that knee injury always nags every year. So really needing that tackle is probably something that you got to look towards in the future. I was almost thinking move him to guard, um, to right guard specifically, but we took Christian Haynes last year in the second round, so I'm not too worried about that. Um, I like Olu at center. Don't hate it, but Gray's able. He's just going to be a stud, and everything I'm seeing on the Instagram, is he's just a great dude, and it
Yep.
just looks like he's going to be really good for a long time.
Yep.
Um, and I'll get into this pretty soon when we do our division draftables, but just everything I like about this team. I mean, I really liked obviously the Emo Warwick pick round two.
Mhm.
Jalen Monroe is, I think, my favorite pick of this draft. Just it's just the perfect pick. Like for what we needed, this is exactly what I wanted going in as a Seahawks fan. It's perfect. Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami. I love that pick. And then they kind of went, if you go down the list, there's just a lot of really good pieces that rounded out this team. At a lot of needy positions, Torrey Horton, like that a lot.
Yep. I love that pick too.
Yeah, it's a really good draft.
Ricky White
So
in the second,
then,
great pick too.
oh yeah, all day long. And I see you got the Patriots here as your second
Yep.
team. So you walk me through that. A
Yep.
plus.
A plus. I mean, just home run draft. Their football team got so much better.
I think they got the most better out of everybody
I
in this
agree.
draft.
From where they were going into where they are now, absolutely. Will Campbell, I mean, I don't care where you play him, he's going to be good, and he's going to be a anchor on that team. Travion Henderson is going to be great. Get him a weapon. Kyle Williams, same thing. I think he could walk in and be their best. Oh, they did get Diggs, but he could be their second best receiver.
Yeah,
And
oh yeah.
third round pick, that's fantastic. Jared Wilson probably going to play center for them. Fantastic,
I love
great.
that pick a lot.
I love that pick. Joshua Farmer, he's going to be his floor is so high with that team. He's gonna be automatically in the rotation. We already talked about Swinson. I like Marcus Bryant for a developmental guy on the line. Like this is a awesome. They got so much better. They checked all their needs. Get the defensive line up, be able to stop the run. That's not their number one is protect Drake May, supply tools and weapons for Drake May, and then improve the defense. They did all that with flying colors. Like I could not be higher on the draft that they had. They absolutely nailed it, except for the long snapper. That was weird. I'm
Yeah,
not.
but I mean, I had him as an A. I think it was what are they here? Yeah, my third team, they had 95. Um, just a great job by them. And I'll go in to them too because I also picked them. It's a remarkable job of just a culmination of everything. I mean, I have it here um in my sleepers, and you can see this is my prospect sleepers if we made a team full of them.
Mhm.
They got Kyle Williams,
Yep.
you got Jared Wilson right here.
Yep.
Um, and then
Swinson.
Swinson. Like
Yep.
it's just like it's a remarkable job of doing
It
that. I
is.
mean, you got an edge seven, wide receiver 10, and an interior five, center one if
Yep.
we're doing that. It's just I'm very impressed by the Patriots. In a tough division, not really tough. They obviously got the Goliath Bills to deal with,
Mhm.
but I just feel like the Bills, like any year now, they could just fall off. I don't know, like. But they're just so good, though. It's weird. The Jets, every year, the hype never
Who
live up
knows?
to it. Is this the year that they live up to it?
Probably not.
Probably not. I don't know. It's literally a coin flip with them. And the Dolphins, I'm not high on them. I think they'll be fourth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the Patriots have a really good opportunity here to be second in this division,
Yep.
and maybe make a run. for a wild card spot.
I agree.
And
I mean,
it's impressive.
you've got the quarterback, you've got the head coach, and you just supplied a bunch of needs. You filled a bunch of holes. Like I am so impressed with how they.
Great job by Mike Vrabel and co. And then I'll talk about it'll get a redundant here, but the Ravens. I every year they do it.
How many
I
times have we
gave
talked
them.
about on the Ravens on this podcast? They just killed. They've killed it
They
this year.
kill every draft. They're
Yeah.
they're unbelievable at drafting.
Yep.
Everything that they got going on, they just breed ball players and getting Starks and Green. My number 14 and 15 overall. You got the number one safety and the number two edge as your first two picks. Give me that all day long. I mean, the fact that Mike Green, if you're talking defensive end and edge, was the ninth defensive end or edge rusher taken.
Yeah.
And he's the number two of all of them.
Yeah.
So it's just remarkable. I think they will figure all of that out, and that will pay off
Yep.
big time. Aeneas Peebles at a VT. It's just a great pick. Like just the whole direction of this team is just remarkable to me. I was really happy with
Yep.
what the Baltimore Ravens did. You can see kind of Peoples right here behind Matabikwe. Does he
Yep.
maybe slot to that nose tackle piece? You never know. He could maybe pass Travis Jones there. Very high on Bilal Cohn. He was also on that sleeper team that I just showed. I just really just everything, even Emory Jones here. This is a really good
I
pick
know.
also.
So such a
I was very high on that pick.
yeah.
And I think he will eventually be a very good starting tackle for the Baltimore Ravens.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean just they slam dunk the draft
Yep.
every
Killed it.
year.
Killed it. I have the Panthers as my third pick. I mean, again, you want to talk like a team that just got so much better.
Yeah.
Like they drastically improved. We talked about T Mac. If he was going to go anywhere, like this is a fantastic spot for him.
Yes.
Scorton, we already talked about. Amazing football
Love that
player.
man.
Going to be so good in that system. And then you got your third down NASCAR package player with Princely. Just let him pin his ears back and just go. You get him in the third round. That's stupid. You get
Now, what do
Trevor.
you do with them? Do you make Princely the maybe outside linebacker and score in the defensive end, maybe
That's what I
opposite
think.
that?
I think
Yeah,
so. He really hasn't been able to develop much other than a pass rush plan.
yep,
I think he's a strictly pass rusher at this point in his career. Who knows what will happen in the future? But that's why you have Scorton, who does everything really well.
exactly,
You're not expecting Princely to come in and be what Scorton is. He has his role.
exactly.
He's going to be good in that role. And with a defense that couldn't get off the field last year on third downs, you have Princely now.
I think
And
Princely will slot into this ROLB slot pretty well, and I think Scourton will honestly be right here in this defensive end
I do
next,
too. I do
opposed
too.
from
I
Brown.
don't think he'll play
Um,
outside linebacker.
no, I don't think he's going to play a linebacker. You can't put him there. I think he's best fit as a defensive end. And then I mean, obviously Clowney is there. This
Yeah.
is a sleeper team.
It is.
You
I
just
mean,
look
you
down
look at
like
where their record would have been without this draft versus where it's going to be because of this draft. I mean, you talk about Lathan Ransom. That's a guy you and me talked about when we were going over our big boards. Like he's going to come in and contribute. Cam Jackson, he will get reps on the interior of that defensive line. Mitchell Evans, Jimmy Horn, you get him some reps. Same thing with Trevor Etienne. Like just make sure he's taken care of. You throw him a couple bones. You go throw Bryce a couple bones on the late day picks. Just get more guys in there. Like
yeah.
I mean, they killed it. Absolutely killed it. I am very, 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 very impressed with what the Panthers did. Thinking of Bryce Young throwing to T Mac and then Scorton and Princely on the like just those first three picks, like so good.
It's a great job by that Panthers team. Transition a little bit here to the teams. The final segment here. What do we not like? What do we like? But what do we most likely not like here? I was not a fan of the Minnesota Vikings draft here.
Okay.
Um, I wasn't very high on. Let's see what you had. Where did you have the Vikings
I
here?
had the Vikings at a C minus as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good consensus here that we both do not like this Vikings draft. you see what they did. I don't mind the Jonathan Jackson pick. I feel like it was a
I don't
little
either.
early,
Yeah.
but I didn't know they were one of the weird teams who didn't have that many needs. Also, they're kind of like the Bears. They're kind of
Mhm.
just polishing up everything. They
Yeah.
kind of revamped that entire offensive line this year, um, with the signing of both those Colts
Mhm.
stars, in Kelly and Fries. And you just see the studs everywhere. I mean, they did really good in free agency.
Yeah.
Um, they kind of fixed that corner depth, hopefully, with Rodgers and Okuda. Um, but I just didn't like what they did. I don't, Ty Felton, I'm not high on him in
I'm not
the
either.
third.
I mean, you could have
I
taken Io Manor there. You could have taken Jalen Royals there. Like there was plenty of receiver talent on the board, and you went. I mean, Ty Felton's fine. I
Yeah,
think I probably had a fourth or fifth round grade on him. I don't think he's worth that there.
I
And
think
I
he was
think
my wide
honestly,
receiver
like
15.
he
Like
plays a similar role to Addison. I don't know why you're giving him
that's
Jordan Addison when it's your second pick of the draft. It was your second pick.
it was very confusing to me. I didn't really understand it. I think if anything, the best pick that they've had. I think King will be pretty good. I think it was a pretty good value pick. I
Yeah, for
mean,
a sixth round pick, I agree.
I had him as my number eight linebacker, number 122 overall, and then he was drafted as the 19th linebacker.
It's a good value.
So that's a really good value there. I think Tyrone Ingram Dawkins will be a sleeper, but I don't think he's going to make any noise
He doesn't
this
need to.
year.
I guess when you have five picks in a draft, like I guess, and you have such a good free agency class, like you said, like they're not plugging holes. And I guess if they're
Yeah,
drafting for the future, like maybe they don't see a second contract with Addison. Maybe they think Dawkins can develop and they think Kobe King, was a good pick at the value. Like I don't know what they're thinking. Again, it's hard. Like I would probably give them a lower grade, but I can't be that hard on them because they only had five picks and they didn't even have a
exactly.
second round pick. So like it's hard to give them a lower grade, but I'm step and step with you. I am not very impressed with this draft.
Yeah, a lot of these teams in this bottom uh will have those fewer picks to work with. I went with the Lions here. Also, a little bit better, not great though.
Yeah,
Um, I think from a grade standpoint, it looks bad, but I think the Lions will find a way to find a way to make it work. I feel like that's the way that they draft their players, which is a little bit unconventional. They're not getting the best player; they're getting what they think it will pay off for them. So I can't
hey,
hate it
it's
there.
whatever they're doing, it's working. So
It
I love
works.
what they're
Yes.
doing.
I don't hate it at all. I wasn't not high on the Tyreek Williams. It's my lowest grade in the first round, out of the picks, but I do think he will be the probably he will make the most noise out of everybody this year.
I agree. I like that
In
Tesla
this
kid out of
pick,
Arkansas. I think I think they have a plan of making him
they
like
100% have a plan.
next. And they traded up to go get him. I That's probably like my if I told you my favorite pick of the draft, that would be my favorite pick of the draft.
Yeah,
I think
I
that was
mean
a cool.
they clearly had a plan,
Yep.
and they just we'll see if it works. And it's worked in the past for this line team, so I can't be too critical
Mhm.
on what they do. They did pick up some good guard pieces in Ratledge and
I did.
Frazier. I think those are good picks.
I did too.
I also like the Ahmed pick here. I you see the clip of him getting juiced at the combine, kind of like getting hype with the guys. I think it'll be a good pick. But like
Such a
still,
line. It's such a
it's
line
just
play.
it's such a Lions pick. But it's just a very it's not going to pop off the screen. I think honestly, it'll raise up in time. I think these
Yeah.
players will turn out okay.
Yeah.
But I was not.
When Tate Ratledge is a starting guard and Tyleek's
Yep.
their starting defensive tackle and you get whatever you get from the other guys,
Yeah.
you'll look back and you'll say they did their job. They did what they wanted to
Yeah.
do.
And
So
we'll get into this in our division draftables. I do
yep.
think Tate Ratledge will be the best pick out of this draft for them, and then we'll just go straight into it. My final bottom
Ooh.
three team was the Packers. I was
Ooh.
not high in the Packers, and we'll go all NFC North here. I think their best pick, in my opinion, I like the Baron Sorrell pick. Um, I think he's a really good dude, and I think he can really slot in here well with what they have and what they're honestly going to lose because they have a lot that they're going to lose in time on this line. They're not going to be able to pay everybody. on this defensive line with a lot of guys in contract years or awaiting contract years. Um, I think he's similar to Gary, and I think he will honestly transition. He probably won't be a starter for a few years now. I think he will be a rotational piece for them. But I think it's the best pick that they had. Obviously the Matthew Golden pick is up there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's so much going on in that room, especially taking Savion Williams also in the third.
Mhm.
So you got six receivers plus Mecole Hardman,
Yeah.
and then you got like multiple tight ends. So it's a wild, it's weapons galore. I'll say that for the Packers. The question is, can they utilize them in the way that they need to? Like some of these other teams do, like the Lions, for example, utilizing their weapons, even though they have a lot fewer. Um, Other than that, I feel like it was a forgettable draft for them.
I do. I do
I don't
agree.
know how much better they got. I feel like they did. The one thing they did do is they did address all their needs. So you can't hate there. I don't know
Yeah.
how high I am on the Belton pick. I feel like he's kind of a tweener. I think I had him as a guard. Um, I think he'll transition to a guard, but in the second is a reach for me. And then I mean Brinson is probably the most notable guy left, and the rest I don't know.
I know you said they addressed all their needs. I don't think they did. I think with
Yeah,
Alexander possibly on the move, and the only corner you take is at the seventh round.
yeah.
I
I
think
think
that was your biggest need about going into the
Erie.
season. You didn't
They
address
should
it.
have taken.
You needed a tackle, and you took a flex tackle. Like Cam Williams was on the board. Take a real tackle. Get a real tackle in there instead of a guy that might play guard, might play tackle. Like this is not a good draft for
I think
them.
half the guys in this class will eventually get cut and will not. I mean, you got maybe one guy will make a second contract with this team, if that.
Yeah,
Uh, so forgettable draft for this NFC North, really, and that'll
indeed.
be an interesting thing when we do the division draftables, to see
That'll be a fun
really
one.
this one. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
But let's go into yours. You tell me what you got.
All right, we're going to start with the Rams. I had two D pluses in this draft, and neither of them are teams that you had a D plus grade on or a bad grade on. So we'll start with the Rams. You know, like we talked about before, there's a aspect of only having six picks that's hard to be hard on. It's hard to be super critical of. The Terrence Ferguson pick, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with him.
Yeah,
Like I said with Loveland to Ben Johnson, you kind of just hope that McVay has a plan and you hope that it works. That's your what you trust with this pick. Josiah Stewart, I think, is good. I mean, he's going to be fine. They've done a great job over the last few years with D line. This was probably not my favorite pick of theirs. Jarquez Hunter is a really bad Kyron Williams, and you took him in the fourth round. Ty Hamilton, fine rotational piece. Chris Paul, totally with you. That's the only reason
yeah,
this isn't a D or a D minus.
yeah,
He a great value pick. He was my linebacker four. He was my linebacker four. And that's saved this draft. Other than that, it would not be like it would be a really, really bad draft. So I don't have like you want to talk about the Packers not having a lot of guys coming back on second contracts.
yeah.
I, I don't know, man. This is just like it seems
I
like
think you could maybe got one, maybe.
you just like I feel like you took some picks and burned them on fire here.
Yeah,
And
and I'm higher on Josiah Stewart than you are. I think he'll turn out a little bit finer. And I like what they've done, like you said, with their outside linebacker edge dudes in the past. But like other than that, and the one thing going for the Rams, and I think let's look at what I had for them. I think I had the Rams a little bit higher. Um, Here I gave him a C plus. The
yeah.
reason I gave him a C plus was because they got a first rounder next
Yes,
year.
and if I took that into account,
Yes.
I would probably give them a C plus
Yeah.
as
I
well. That
think I
is
think that was big. And they were one of those tweener teams where like they didn't really have a consistent mocked player going to them or a
yeah,
mocked need. They were kind of just a tweener need. I mean, the
yeah.
team is pretty like
No, it's a
well
good roster.
rounded.
It's a good
It's a
roster.
it's a good roster, but I think the glaring need. was
It's corner.
cornerback,
Yeah, I
and they
agree.
just
You
did
didn't
not
you
address it
didn't draft a
whatsoever.
single corner.
It's remarkable to me.
I don't know, man. Like BMO was on the board in the second round. There's plenty of guys on the board in the third round that you could have grabbed. Like I don't know, man. I really don't like is I don't love the
Did
draft.
they pass on Will Johnson? Do we know
Uh
that? Let's look.
yes, Will Johnson went at 51. They could have grabbed Will Johnson.
Yeah,
You could
that
you could
is just Will
you had
Johnson
Will
with the pick
Johnson there.
after.
Yeah, you had Will Johnson there. That's gonna haunt them for a long time.
That is going to haunt them. I mean, Will
And
Johnson was there
BMO
everywhere.
was still on the board. Trey Amos was still on the board. Like there was plenty of talent that you could have taken and you didn't. And so I don't know. I don't know who you plan on trotting out there next year unless they plan on trading for Jair Alexander. I have no idea what they plan on doing. But it was
Jalen
really
Ramsey reunion, maybe. I mean,
that would be
you're running
cool.
out of options. Yeah.
That would be cool. You're right though. They're running out of options. And so the only team that's matched that grade was the Saints. The Saints also got a B plus. This was a train wreck. I probably should have talked about them first because if this is the worst draft between the two, I really like the Stutzman pick,
Yeah, I did too.
and that's where it stops. It's done. That's it. Or like Kelvin Banks is going to play on your offensive line. He was not worth the ninth overall pick.
Not worth the ninth, and they don't know how to develop them. Hence the what they did with Penning. They just
Penning, yeah, exactly.
botched that.
Yeah.
They just completely botched
For a
developing
guy
Penning.
who needs development. Kelvin Banks is not
Yeah.
ready to play tackle right now.
And we'll see what Fuega does. I mean, we don't even know. They took him last year in the
Yeah.
first. So like,
Which again, like I talked about earlier, like I respect that. Like
yeah.
prioritize your offensive line. But this
Is this three drafts in a row?
uh
Three of the last four at least, where they took offensive tackle in the first round.
isn't that terrible that it
And
hasn't even worked though? Like it's not even working.
yeah, so like that's just makes I like Banks. I think is a reach, but I do think um he'll be the best guy in this, but they got to develop him better. I mean, what's the issue? Talk to me
I
about Tyler Shuck.
I, I don't know. Uh, Terrible pick. Too
I
early.
hated it.
It's
Way too
terrible.
early.
This way you have a problem because your starting quarterback is hurt, right?
Yep.
You're like, okay, how are we going to fix this? Let's draft a guy who's 25 years old, who has torn both of his ACLs multiple times and had a terrible medical career. That's who we're going to draft to solve our quarterback medical problem. What? Why? What? Like that? It makes no sense. No sense to me. Um, no sense. Draft him in the third, I guess. I don't know. Terrible pick. F. Not an F, but like, it was really bad.
It's bad. It's one of the
Broughton,
worst picks in this draft.
it is one of the worst picks in the draft. Vernon Broughton, watch, he'll go be freaking Brock Purdy, and we're gonna go laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
He's gonna stay healthy and be a stud this year, and we're gonna
Well,
call
he's
him.
gonna be playing. I mean,
He has to. You can't try
he has
Rattler
to.
out there.
So we'll see what happens. I mean,
Trade for Will Levis, I guess.
I don't know. That's a bunch of mid-white quarterbacks in that room.
Exactly. Broughton will play on that defense. Jonas Sanker picked Xavier Watts was on the board. Why
I
are
like
you
Jonas Sanker, but not there.
not over Watts?
Yeah.
Over Watts. And Quincy Riley, whatever. Devin Neal is a good back. You got him at a discount. I think I had him in my 150 range. And then I mean, it's another thing. Like I feel like these picks were burnt. Like you set
Yeah.
them afire. Like this is a bad draft, man. This is a bad draft.
Yeah, I like
Um,
Neil, but it's just like you already got a pretty deep running back room. You don't need him.
yeah, and
It's just
like there's like other spots available that I feel like you could get more value. Take a shot at a tackle, take a shot at a guard, take a shot at defensive lineman. Like I don't think that's the spot for Devin Neal.
no.
And I don't know. Like it's again, it's up in the air for Shuck, but we'll see. Going to my third team is going to the 49ers, which is wild because I actually do like their first two picks.
Yes.
This is a much better like the two drafts that we just talked about do like this is a much better draft than that.
Oh, for sure.
It is very obvious that the 49ers went out and they said we are with why am I blanking on his name? The Jets head coach, Saleh. Saleh went
Solid,
over and said, no one is ever running the football on our defense again. We're drafting
yeah.
Alfred Collins and CJ West and Michael
Yep.
Williams. Like no one's running the football on us. So I respect that. You have an identity. Jordan James will be a good player in the late rounds. Um, I don't up these two picks right here. I know you and me are Upton Stout fans. I don't I think we were
Upton
both
Stout in the third round though, and
Nick
like
Martin in the third round is a real reach. I think you
Nick
could have
Martin
gotten
was a
in the third
massive
round.
reach. I think that's more of the that's like a Tesla pick for the Lions, extreme reach, but it's really who do you think can plug? This pick is very reminiscent of what Seattle did. They took Tyrese Knight last year, I think in the fourth round at a UTEP. It's one of those things where I do honestly think it'll pay off because he's
Yeah,
gonna have to start.
yeah,
They don't have any really depth. I mean, he would be slotted as a starter now, right here, like because they don't really have linebackers. So
yeah.
I think this is one of those things where they went out and got a guy that they really just felt would be the best. But it's an extreme reach.
It is,
Absolutely.
and they did that multiple times. And I will like to say the three or the Packers and the Vikings I would have ranked below this, but we already touched on those, so I figured we'd touch on a different team.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like the Jordan Watkins pick at Ole Miss. I think that was a bad pick. Again, I talked about Jordan James. Like, I think there's a world where in a few years we look back and say, yeah, it worked out pretty good, especially with Mike Hill.
Yeah.
You got that's so traitsy, put him up with Bosa, put him with that coaching staff. I see a world where it works out. Saul is known to do well, good stuff with defense, like you said. Like they got their guy, Nick Martin. I trust him to figure that out. And that
Yes, I think that
months.
that'll be all right.
There's a lot of positives in this draft. With that being said, I there's just a lot of things that just don't make a lot of sense to me. And so again, like you have a huge need at all everywhere on the offensive line, everywhere.
You got an
And
aging Trent Williams. Like,
there's almost every other spot still a question mark. In two
yeah,
years, none of those guys might be on the roster. And you drafted one in the seventh round.
it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Like I don't know, man. It's that played a lot into my grade with
Yeah,
the use of their picks. You could have gotten, I mean, in the fourth round, you could have drafted Cam Williams at 138. Like, why would you not do that? Just let him sit behind Trent Williams. That makes like that's a great pick. And you
yeah.
got to Jordan Watkins. Like, I don't know,
I feel
man.
like the last five, six picks are just burn picks. Like they're not
And you
that
can't
quarterback
tell.
out of Indiana is not playing. I'm sorry.
And with the way, no, he's not. And with the way this roster is right now, like they need players that can come in and contribute. And Nick Martin and Upton Stout and all of those guys are not ready to come in and contribute.
No,
There's
I don't
three
think so.
players that can come in and contribute, and they're all on the defensive line.
Yep. And Michael Williams will probably
Yeah,
play right
Michael,
away, but the
Michael, and
others
the two
won't.
interiors. That's it. Those are the only
Yeah,
people that can come in and contribute.
yeah, it's definitely head scratching to see that. And we'll definitely get into more of this
Yeah.
as we kind of reveal our division draftables, which is basically our division series where we will kind of go down the line with each team in the division and we will kind of give you an outlook of what that division looks like as we transition out of draft talk. Because this is not only Nico the draft guy, this is just complete NFL off season and in season, if you will. So we will continue to do that. Um, this is a great episode. Super excited to get this talked about. It was great talking to you about it, PDunn. Had a great time, and I'm really excited to see what these picks look like. I'm really excited as rookie minicamp rolls on
Mhm.
into training camp, OTAs, and then preseason will be here before you know it. And then we can really see what these dudes are doing in preseason. It's a
Milrow got
pleasure.
going on there. That's gonna be
Milrow,
fun for him
it'll be a
preseason.
lot better than watching Sam Howell last year in preseason. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Um, once again, I'm your host, Niko Chambers. Thank you so much, P Dunn.
Yep.
And everybody stay tuned for those division draftables coming out pretty soon here. So thank you guys.